Good afternoon or good evening, whatever time zone you're in. Do you know that this is the first time since 7 o'clock this morning that I have been able to sit down and do something really for me to complete, to continue on a mission, an assignment, at a time when I could look at you and say, I can't do it today, I'm tired. I had a horrible day and I don't want to do this. But you know what? That's when you got to do it. You got to press through. That's where your faith that tomorrow might be better, though it's not promised. But I had a really lousy day. And I'm not complaining, but I do know that it's okay to have lousy days and be honest enough to say, you know what? I had a lousy day today. Everything went wrong. Everything went backwards. Everybody was horrible. I have something going on that I didn't expect in my body. I wake up every morning and say, oh my God, what body part do you want me to check out today? How much more do you want? But I'm 76, and I'll say to you that every decade presents an issue. You can deal with it, or you can try to hide from it. But your 40s and your 50s and your 60s and your 70s and your 80s and your 90s, they all present problems. That's life. And you know what? I am grateful that I can take my mind off of everything that happened today and sit here and tell you a wonderful story and finish that story that we did yesterday. Some of you come on early. I kind of know that by now. You watch for real early. Some of you come on at night. Some of you come on in the morning. And some of you come on just during the day. It just creeps up and up and up. So I'm speaking to the world and telling the world of people I don't know, thank you for allowing me to say, I had a really lousy day. But we are going to complete the assignment for the next few months. All right, we're going to get started. I'm going to give you a little overview. I'm so much better now. I'm going to give you an overview of yesterday's story. Chapter 3 is continuing, and it was about two sisters who lost both their parents within 24 hours. So I was at the care center, and I knocked on this room, and there was this little white dog nestled under this frail woman's arm, sitting on a crimson pillow. One thing led to another and another, and we just talked. And her hands, I mentioned her hands, her nails were gorgeous, and they were painted crimson red, cherry red. And then I looked at the dog, and she was painted cherry red. And she says, he doesn't know if she's a she, or she didn't know if he's a he. I said to myself, now, well, that's very prophetic, because right now they're dealing with issues like this everywhere. And then, all of a sudden, she said she really liked me, and I reminded her of her best friend of 40 years. And I said, oh, I hear that a lot. A lot of people say I'm their best friend, or their worst enemy. But anyway, so she says that. She says, yeah, this woman was the only woman I know who could wear a turban and make it look exotic. And I've told you throughout this book, I wore turbans because so many of the people I met had lost their hair, and it made them feel comfortable. So anyway, she says her best friend had the most gorgeous orange hair, so she never understood why she put it in a turban. I said, well, would you like to see my hair? Oh, she said, yes. So I pulled off my purple turban, and my hair was orange at the time. It really was. I mean, we're not talking flaming orange, but we're talking really flaming red orange. She laughed so hard that she started to choke and cough. The dog got nuts, yipping all over the place, and that's when the two sisters came in, the daughters. So I'm a mess. The woman's can't catch her breath, and she's choking. The dog's jumping a little bit and going nuts. So it was awkward. But we all settled down, and I introduced myself again, and that was it. So this is where we're going to pick up. And as the description says, I'm very retro today. I feel like the 60s movies, you know. So anyway, so yes, it was bright orange. She burst out laughing. I'll catch you up to where we're going to start reading again. Unfortunately, and if you read yesterday, it really with these stories will make sense to go back. If you can't do it 2 days in a row, go back and catch the first part because it'll make so much sense. I tried to give you an overview, but it wasn't. So, and I'll be able to finish this one tonight. So great. So unfortunately, she couldn't catch her breath and started to cough and choke at the same time. The dog got upset and started to howl. And that's when her daughters arrived. It was an awkward situation for a few minutes, but eventually everything settled down. After the introductions were made, we all started to laugh. They brought a bottle of red wine and poured it into 3 styrofoam cups. The dog had his own little bowl. He was affectionately referred to as their older sibling with fur, their other sibling with fur. They asked me if I wanted to stay and have a drink with them. I said that I was on duty and perhaps another time. As I left, the dog was finishing his second bowl of wine. I was making coffee in the kitchen area when the sisters came out of the room. One of the daughters was identical to her mother. And she said, "Mom likes you a lot," quote unquote. I told her the feeling was mutual. When I asked how their father was doing, because the mother had been taken into hospice, the same time that she hadn't hurt the father so much that he ended up having a heart attack and he's in another hospital. So the mother's in hospice, she's going to transition soon. And the father, they neither of them know what's going on. The mother doesn't know about the father fighting on it. I asked how the father was doing, and they both snickered and half grinned at the same time. The other daughter said, quote, "Well, he's in worse shape than Mom. He doesn't know just how bad she is and that she's in hospice, and she doesn't know that he probably won't pull through his heart attack." End quote. So was the reading for yesterday. I'm starting now. I couldn't even begin to comprehend the magnitude of their pain and suffering. In disbelief, I said, quote, "You're telling me that both of your parents are gravely ill and that they might not make it through the next few weeks," end quote. In a gentle, calm, unwavering tone, they responded in unison, quote, "Yes." The daughter who looked like her mom said, quote, Neither of them can know about the severity of the other's condition, and we are going to keep it that way. They are not to know how bad it really is," end quote. They went back to the room to check on their mother. A few minutes later, the look-alike daughter took the dog for a walk, while the other sister came back to have coffee with me. She said, quote, "My sister and I have always been close. She's my best friend. We are devoted to each other, and we've always had a great relationship with both our parents. We are more than family. We are all friends. Our parents have been married for 37 years, and they have never been apart. Now they may never see each other again. If you want to get out the Kleenex, do it. But I'm telling you, these stories are full of hope and faith. Faith. That's what these stories are. You can be sad. Well, yeah, I think you should maybe be shedding a tear. You're relating. You are relating to something when I read. If you well up, or you giggle, or you have a feeling or an emotion, or something happens, you're relating to me, heart to heart. That's what's working here. I'm saying the same place talking to you. Now they were married 37 years. They had never been apart. Now they may never see each other again. Write. Really write. Write your story. Write your book. Her concern for both of them was so genuine and sincere. She said, quote, "My sister and I made a perfect pact to protect our parents from any further heartache. I know that we are going to lose both of them very soon. We are trying to remain positive through, though it is very difficult. There have been times when I am afraid, question, and ask, quote, why me? Did I not have a chapter in my book, Committed to Love, my personal memoir and autobiography? Did I not have a whole chapter on why me? You bet. Get the book. Relate to it. It's your book of life, besides the Bible. She was afraid and she questioned. She asked, quote, why me? But it is less painful to say, oh, God, why not me? Instead, that's what I did in that chapter. That's why I'm relating here so well. You don't know how your life's going to intercede with other people. I had a whole chapter in Committed to Love, my book, on why me. And then I kept saying, why not me? What? On my birth certificate, it said life's going to be a bowl of cherries. Well, cherries have pits, and you might just choke on them. That was good. That was very prophetic. So anyway, rationalizing and philosophizing does help sometimes, end quote. The sister came back in with the dog and sat down with us. I said, quote, would the sibling with fur like a cookie or a cup of coffee? End quote. Yes, she said. He likes chocolate chips, end quote. They brought the dog back to the room. Mom was asleep, but they didn't want to leave. The look-alike daughter said, quote, we've been running double duty back and forth between both places for a week. I don't know how we are keeping up with this, but we are. Having each other helps, end quote. I said, quote, so what do you do for fun and relaxation, end quote. They thought that was funny, and in unison they said, quote, you haven't heard anything yet. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm flip out and go, so what do you do for fun? You know, both their parents are going to die. And I'm flipping saying, so what do you do for fun and relaxation? So they laughed. And they said, quote, you haven't heard anything yet. We're great. The daughter who didn't look like the mother said, quote, want to hear about the eviction from the apartment and the lawsuit against our business, end quote? The daughter who didn't look like the mother said, quote, want to hear about the eviction from the apartment and the lawsuit against our business? Quote, sure, I said, go for it. And she said, quote, we have to find a new apartment. We are being evicted because of the dog. There are no pets allowed where we live, but we cannot give him up. And of course, they're going to have to take the dog because the mother's going to pass and there's the dog. There are no pets allowed where we live, but we cannot give him up. We are also being sued because of a business venture that went belly up. It happened a year ago, but they have decided to sue us now. What a great time, right timing. So we have no place to live, no business left, and both parents are going to pass away. Just comprehend, and you think your life is rough at the moment. Please don't feel sorry for yourself because you had a bad day like I did. I don't feel sorry for myself. I just had a lousy day. They're getting evicted from their apartment. Their business is being sued, and they're going to lose both their parents, probably within 24, 48 hours. I think that's a pretty heavy load to be walking around with. They're so good. They were so wonderful. It happened a year ago, but they decided to sue us now. We have no place to live, no business left. Both parents are going to pass away. So that's that. End of story, end quote. I said, quote, I have never heard anything like this before. How are you managing to go on? You both are so optimistic and strong, end quote. The look-alike daughter said, quote, we don't have any choice now. This is the way it is. We have each other, and we will somehow manage to get through this. We've shed plenty of tears and questioned our beliefs many times. We're nuts today. God, I've had so many spam risks. Put it in a can and eat it. We said our goodbyes and they left. I came back to visit with them several times during the week. Most of the time, the girls were there. They continued to remain positive, strong, and never lost their sense of humor. Though they had so much sorrow and suffering in their lives, their only concern was for their parents, never for themselves. They inspired everyone around them and brought comfort and hope to anyone whose life they touched. As ill as this woman was, I never heard any of them complain. All I saw was the life of a beautiful lady and the devotion of a family who loved each other. One afternoon before the daughters arrived, the woman asked me why I got involved in hospice. I didn't go into detail, but I told her that you, Jeffrey, had a long-term illness and how hospice helped us. I realized then why this family made such an impression on me. I said, quote, "One of the things I always tried to do was to keep a positive attitude, even though it was nearly impossible to do. My concerns were only for my husband. It was not the time for me to think about myself. I tried to keep it all in perspective and make the precious time we had left as bearable as it could be," end quote. This family justified how important remaining positive was, no matter how horrible the situation. They gave me hope and reinforced my belief that people will do what's good and right, no matter how unfair life may be. Both parents passed away within 24 hours of each other. They called me to say thank you and wished me good luck. I'll say so long for a little while. I love you, Susan. Well, how's that grab you? For real. I remember after Jeff passed, and I took that year off before I joined hospice and went through their program as an 11th hour volunteer. But I remember I had my parents, and there were times they lived in Troy, New York, and I'm grateful I had them. They lived to be 92, and they were together for a very long time. They were married 70 some odd years. But I was able to go back and forth. I was the only woman wearing a fur coat in January in the middle of a blizzard at the Albany airport waiting for a ride to Troy. And that went on for many years. But I was able to tell them, just like I told Jeff, you'll never know a day where you're alone or where I won't be there for you. I may not like some people along the way I've met, but it doesn't mean I can't reach out and try to make it better. I cut people a lot of slack in my life, and perhaps they've done the same for me, because I haven't been easy. But having both my parents being ill at the same time, mommy in the hospital with pneumonia, daddy home, and my father was rough. And then I'd have to put daddy in the hospital, and mom would come home. I was always jiggling them around also. But I thought about these people when she said, "Why not me?" And I thought of my Why Not Me chapter. And then I thought about the frustration and the disappointments, and there was another chapter in my book about that. And then just in general, their whole attitude was so good through it all. If I didn't tell you these stories, I would be doing something very wrong, because I know that you are hearing me and you are listening and you are telling friends or family. And I know that my stories will continue to go around the world, because these stories are as relevant then, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, as they are today. What's changed? The scenery, the technology, the ambiance of places, but the people. What you go through in life 50 years ago, someone 50 years later is going to go through it. You are not the only one, no matter what you think. The times will change, but every story I write about could be right now, and that's what someone who's a dear friend called me, and we talked last night, and that's what she said. She said, these stories are as relevant today as they were then. Of course. It's just I was able to write them, and now I'm able to speak them. My story, I always say, Committed to Love, my book, this one's called And I Held Her Hands with a Hospice Heart. Books page on my website will explain everything, and I always say the media page. And we're doing chapter 4 tomorrow. But in my book, I always try to explain, I don't know where I was going with that thought, and maybe it'll come back or maybe it won't, because there's just so much that I'm grateful for right now that I can do this. But, on the books page, you can go and see in Committed to Love. It's almost complete on the Susan Reads My book. Half of the readings are there, and my website lady is taking care of it. So the entire book will be on my website. But now you can still go to the books page, media page, any page you want, and check it out. I don't know why I went to there, but I know with Jeffrey, thinking I've been a widow 28 years on my own, no kids. I was thinking, I walk into an apartment. In general, I have no children. I have no plants. I don't have a dog. There's nothing alive in my apartment but me. Praise God. So I want you all to remember that love will always take care of itself. Love is the common thread. And, my daddy, I remember being with my parents. My mom was so easy to be with. I adored her. Daddy was more like me at a time when I was not as nice as I am now. So we always butt heads. But behind my back, he would always say how good I was. They called me the general when I came into the hospital. Even the doctor said, "Oh, Jesus, I think the general's coming in," he said. Because I wouldn't take it from anybody. When it comes to your life, it comes to intervening or interceding, I'm there. Don't ever show me any problems. I don't care where it is. I'll take my chances. But if I see someone being treated unfairly or being taken advantage of, don't get that part of me out that I try to suppress, because I got a part of me in there that will fight, and I'm not nice. So I remember with Mom and Dad, I'm grateful to have had them, and they both passed within a year of each other, and I was there. So I've known a lot about loss. But you know what? I'm still here. I'm telling you today, no matter how rough it gets, no matter how much life sucks, no matter how aches you feel, no how many itises. If you have an itis, you know what that is. That's something you don't want, or an ism. No matter how bad, you can go through it with hope, faith, and God's saving grace. And I mean it for real. Just don't stop. Don't give up. Don't quit. And make your choices, healthy choices. Because that's so important. Because that's what you have to live with. You might not make the best choice, but don't make a choice that you know you're either doing for someone else and it's not right, or you're going to have to live with it. So that's the end of my day. It started off lousy, and today now it's been my blessing because I'm talking to you. I love you all so much. You give me support. Your messages are incredible. The most messages I get, to be honest, are the glasses. That's the comments. I don't get the comments. The story was wonderful. Keep reading. Oh my goodness, how did you do that? Oh, your sunglasses. Where do you get your sunglasses? Oh my goodness. I think these are from New Orleans. I shall say, and they go appropriately with And I Held Their Hands with a Hospice Heart. And I'll always be committed to love. So if you go to SusanMintz'sWebsite.com, you'll know everything you need to know. God bless you all. Shalom. Hello. Shalom. Goodbye. Shalom. Peace. I hope to see you tomorrow night at 5:29. And I thank you. Chapter 3 is now complete. We shall start on chapter 4. Maybe I should tell you a little, let me just tell you what it's going to be. Yes, this is important too. Chapter 4, caregiving comes in many forms, in many ways. And for this man, it was all about his love for chocolate chip cookies. I tell these stories all over. I mean, I remember this man. I mean, you got to visualize these stories. That's why I spend so much time trying to explain them. Caregiving comes in many forms, in many ways. And for this man, it was all about his love for chocolate chip cookies. Shalom again. Thank you so much. I'll finish. Bye. Be kind, be patient, and call someone and tell them you care. Bye.